야. 야, 당연히 될래서. 쇼당 나좀 나게나 청주 선배. 청주 민배 심다. 걔네니 세들래서.
Hola, so.
바바만도 군도 배차신스다. 어데 다 청주 매심 기반 거대체. 봐. 내가 지니지 라고도 굉장히 보도했는데 송다. 아. 선남고 초다 이식 초라. 계시 보도가 가슴으로서 선남 초다 이식 초니 라드네 배반디 선배제셔바데 선남 초사에 좀 배제셔바 이식 초사에 좀 배제셔 배제셔여봐. 아 어디라다 아 다들 치와라 알레다 따라좀 선남 초사에다 지는 선남 초사에게 나와네 다 전육심데 큐도 침바래. 제가 전주선데 표도 신바인바이나 전주선 마냥 받지 텐데 숨을 제대 계신 뭐 쉬우저래잖아.
Du kan Sunnam Taishiki Tola Bebe, die Kundupe Dogeris.
배즈 소남 초도 소남 초 사이에 쳤던 배즈치와 배즈체인데 단 배즈체네 단 배즈체들라 딱으로 소남 초 사이에 쳤던 배즈치기요라 이식 초 사이에 쳤던 배즈치기요라 다 전주선 공부세도 소남 초 사이에는 그 조지샤되기요라 아 전주선 공부체에서 그냥 전배 양양 전에 다 상담에 다 공부를 했어야 돼요. 대야 공부대야 두두도 니 말이나 두두도 융탈을 다 공부를 했어야 되는 순간.
We have come to verse number 18. The commentary gives this verse in 2 bits, so the first half and then the second half. Looking at the first half now, having developed the aspiration for enlightenment, constantly enhance it through concerted effort. So regarding this, Geshe Putova says in the commentary that here what is saying constantly enhance it through concerted effort. This is alluding to the constant efforts in accumulating merit and wisdom. And at the same time, bodhicitta is the most effective attitude or thing actually that enhances merit and wisdom. So therefore, for this reason, make sure that it does not degenerate. Make sure that you always remind bodhicitta at least during the 6 sessions during a day, and if possible, even more.
전주심제 탑시디 전에 딱 가르쳐래. 그래서 탑시디 전에 되네. 군주로 쳐봐 자신 뭐 지야당 긴들나 님구로 지야당 되네. 중부라 또르마 땅에당 우분라 지바 땅에라 소바 되네. 선남당 이미 시기 소송리진에 담배서 저거래 사실.
맞소.
군노 전주심 군들라네. 그다.
And therefore, for this reason, it is so necessary that we again and again think of the benefits and the qualities that go along with bodhicitta, because that is what will make sure that we will actually come to generate it, because that will make us strive in generating it and wanting us to achieve that actually. So for the sake of that, it is very good to try to increase our the accumulations of merit and wisdom, making offerings to the 3 jewels, to the Sangha, to poor people or people who are in need, and all of this always with this motivation of bodhicitta.
다 전주고 쓴데 다 관에 공도 패주고 그래스.
And therefore, with this kind of motivation, I make offerings to the three jewels, venerate and pay respect to the Sangha, make karma offerings to the various elemental spirits, give in generosity to poor and needy ones. And that will support the enhancement of bodhicitta and the growth.
Taki sata diri sonamda yishigi tso kanshigi shela pemba kanchede chanju sembe yang sam shesumbe cher scha te kasungudo osne sonam tso tang yishigi tso kare cheba inati shela pende tuye chedo jo shending samba chanju sembe yang sembe tona chechi.
And therefore, through these and various other means, increase, enhance, grow further the mind of awakening, bodhicitta. And then concerning the same topic, Nagarjuna says in one of his collections, there are these main 5 categories of scriptures of Nagarjuna. One of them is called the collection of discourses. And in that one, he says that whenever we accumulate merit and wisdom, then we should always do it with the benefit of others at heart. It's for their sake, so based on the mindset of bodhicitta, exert various deeds and practices to enhance it, but always make sure that you are rooted in bodhicitta.
Senjen le punjo ma de tambo senjen le pon asede pro senjen le pon aselade sinje tamje chabada tsewe yudu sungures chamje yudu sune chamje yune simje chigya borchogo mares le ta chogo mares kan cheba de chamje kundula shembenge sambe kundula ne chegu yares 디센데 지구 깨져 말해. 저거 신도야. 대 템바시고야. 심지어 뭐야서 다 큐메바시고레스.
Kiwa Shambhala yang Chengores.
아, 저거 신도야. 그럼 되네. 저죽선 말씀 가서다. 군ung 참바다 인지 구들라네. 심지어 지간로 로네 마마와. 라바 되네 송제. 다들 저거 신의 신다도야. 되는데 심지어 르봉한테 싸워네 마요. 치고레스 거다.
Ale nakchu shi pang shindina nola chik di le pang badirwe. And now we come to the second half of the verse. To remember it in this and also in other lives, keep the precepts properly as explained. So it's really necessary that one includes all sentient beings into the mindset of bodhicitta. It is not appropriate to exclude even a single one from our mindset, from our vast aspiration of that of bodhicitta. So that means that all sentient beings are objects of our love, of our compassion, of loving kindness, and not even a single one is left out. So whatever actions we perform, deeds, practices, and so on, all of that is based on the principles of love, compassion, bodhicitta, loving kindness, and exerted on the basis of that, carried out on the basis of that. So we should make really sure that we strengthen these precepts as much as we can, so that actually they will become so strong that they will take on, also carry on in future lives as well. So we are still talking here about the bodhicitta of aspiration. So this really concerning the mindset, the aspiration that then will be at the basis of our actions. And therefore, it's really about focusing our mind, orienting our mind towards the benefit of others with the courage that aims at benefiting all endless, infinite numbers of sentient beings without leaving anyone aside. That's what we need to train in. So this means that what actually then will bring about the benefit of other sentient beings is courage. And on the basis of that mindset of bodhicitta. And we have to make sure that this does not decrease. Therefore, to always ensure that we don't leave a single being out of that vast field of bodhicitta, and therefore make sure that bodhicitta does not degenerate. So it is really important that we therefore generate the courage that's needed to bring about the benefit of sentient beings, and that we act for the benefit of beings. But at the same time, we do not have the power to truly benefit now all infinite sentient beings. So who has that power? That power is possessed by the omniscient state of awakening. In that state of realization, one possesses that power. And therefore, through acknowledging that that's the fact, I want to achieve it, but I don't have the power now. So I need to myself attain that state of full awakening to obtain that power, to bring that about. And therefore, by acknowledging it, by understanding this, then that is how one has to train in striving and working for attaining that.
This one.
That's it.
Ah, that the day in by Indi. That don't need de Hare, so don't need de. The Nichu say you never like a Sanji Commandres. Jazan da Command. The day you say and then go neg Sanji Command Tabra Cheva Casata. The day Sosola Tabra Cheva ina. 다 랑게 뭐네 심정게 돼 타다 두개게 튕기는 차선 상황 제가 뒤고도 웃으거다
And therefore, what we want to attain, what is to be strived for, is none other than the state of Buddhahood, the state in which all faults have been removed and all qualities have been achieved. And therefore, that when we achieve that state, then we finally have all the tools, the conditions we need in order to benefit all sentient beings. And that is really what we need.
제가 되게 상따제다 소소라 라셰 되는 러브치를 세나신지라 랑데 두고 주는다 셴데 두고 주는다 아 가인사 니가 됐다 두버쳐데 근데 전죽심 듣게 고야리 전죽심 세데 가인사 라셰 니가 됐다 두버쳐 대 탈심바지 두번 쳐봐라 남기 개가 고마서다 타고도 써 남기 개가 고마서다 마토나 라힌이가 된토도야지 민두스 디라라 중로 쳐봐이나 라라시 라신이게 되단 뱀에 두토에서 다 참아 두토에게 되네 튕겨되게 차선 소소라 상화레스 근데 이제 차선을 상화 임바인데 근데 이제 차선이 상화 된다 예 싫어 차상화 된지 녀야겠다 되는 거 상바 된지 게 고야랬어
And knowing, acknowledging this, then also means generating bodhicitta for the sake of accomplishing the benefit of ourselves and others, because both of these benefits are what is accomplished once one achieves full enlightenment. And if we do not achieve the state of omniscience, of a fully awakened Buddha mind, then it is not possible to accomplish, to perform the benefit either for ourselves or for others. But if we achieve that, if we come to realize full Buddhahood, then we have all the conditions, all the causes, all the tools necessary to bring about the benefit of our own and of other sentient beings. And therefore, this is the mindset that we need to strive after, and the mindset that we need also, cause and result, so sort of thing.
다들 야구 상담바이나 다 근데기다 나서 전주 셈세지다 줄여져가지 봐 토마라 된 토마르 된 알아서 전주 셈세게 되는 강 전도 얘기게 전주도 마셔야 돼 계시 말했어 그 모터 시고 야랬어
And therefore, what's really important to consider is that in order to truly, authentically generate bodhicitta, we need to know what we are working, what we are striving for, which is Buddhahood.
전도 니제 청축세대 만화도 상다야 돼 요지 남게 통해 봐지나 질리야여도 와답지 이 요지 질 로사에 되고 소라지 어디니 상다는 지기야 말이스 가인사 청축세대 간데시 용고야라서 장스 가래 장고야라서 알아서 셈기 견데 장고야레스 셈기 드마되게 장고야레스 tima chöge yingsu daks라고 해요. 하고서 tima chöge ying수 daks나 tima de 나라서 semju기 tima de semju기 때문에 파 다줘야 돼. 마도 저게 얘는 가서 요아전에 정줍서에 시다지나 내가줘야 말했다.
And that also entails understanding what enlightenment is not, because often we think enlightenment is somewhere, a place that we have to reach, or it sounds like something that we can go and get, but that's not what it is. Enlightenment in Tibetan Jangchup has a very different meaning. Like Jang, the first syllable, refers to cleaning, cleansing, eliminating all the stains and faults in the mind, eliminating them within the sphere of the Dharmadhatu, or in other words, eliminating, removing them within the continuum of the mind itself. So by removing them, Buddhahood will emerge. It is not that we go and take Buddhahood from somewhere else and put it into the mind.
나라서 셈기 그 다에게 탑시디 마시바 있나? 이 전줍서도 시야요 말이스. 제가 셈기 그 다에게 탑시디 시고야레스.
We need therefore to know what are the tools to remove the stains in the mind. And without that, we will not actually be able to know Buddhahood. So we need to be clear on what are the means to remove those stains. And that's then also when we come to talk about the ultimate nature of the mind, which is a very vast topic.
전주 세계 저 용수 세바데 전도니에 상바책당 셈게 런신 타도 셰베 되는 실업니도 숨도 들어와이나 된대그 숨리도 상황이나 전주 주역이 탑식 가서 탑다 실업데 많아와 상황했어.
Chigdi kya selwe tap ani chigdi semgi rangshin sheba.
semgi rangshin sheba des rangshin 타도 sheba 대당 전주 전도니에 상바니부데 하고서 대니도 무슨나 대니도 상수나 나 전주 주야겠다네 튕기도 상황했어.
So we need two main conditions in order to achieve Buddhahood, which sometimes are summarized by the word skillful means and wisdom. And here, what mainly this alludes at, Geshe says, is the mindset of striving for Buddhahood, of wanting to achieve Buddhahood, and therefore removing these stains. And the other is the knowledge of the nature of the mind.
semgirashin nezu tadu shebe lo deda dene karso warada shenge karso warada chanju dondo niwe lo sini nungudwa jayada chanju dondo niwe digi nana chanju dondo niwe lo sade ngana zu kala guyara eslaude kunu chambada nyinji niwe che kunu chambada nyinji wange semjenge dewa drobadan 동해의 세고야. 동해의 세고를 제발라 남기 제로 고마스죠. 탑 그도 스자와. 대 탑을 책임이 스타디 네버도 탑 그도 세게 삼바델라 천주 되는 요 삼바세 델라라고 야르스.
So the one part is the knowledge, the mind that knows about the ultimate nature of the mind, and then the mind or mindset that strives for the attainment of Buddhahood. And all of this, so what did the mindset that strives for Buddhahood, what is that? That's first of all the foundation of loving kindness and compassion, that motivation. And then the wish to achieve Buddhahood and the commitment, I will achieve it so that I will remove all suffering from sentient beings and establish them in happiness. This is the mindset that we are talking about here when we say mindset, that's the mind that strives for awakening.
This one. Yeah, that was it. Then you know that Thai Simjin did that, so then Karas was no sure Minibi Yangdela. I'm going to ya the Digi Yang going to law. Then Digi Kekuyari. Lot the Digi Kewala. Then Simjin did that maybe. Then Simjin that Dumena Zudala Solo Tanche. Then 동해다라 텐데게 닌지 세지다 대화 텐데게 참바 세지 달로 딩이데 시부지 개심부 차대게요
Dici come son care taebe sentjen shiwa la mine be ya
지부 상기게 살람 건데게 상바시 깨고요
le ta shiwa la mine but di tipo digi mare esto
말에 시오 미네베 냥데 시나 상기게 고바 라고요
ale shiwa la mine ba yakul sange kopang ale
시오 미네베 냥데 시오 미네베 냥데 냥데 두고 말에 미네베 냥데
ale mine be nyamne de la changju pi kopang segre
오 데라 상기게 고바 라고요 제가 다 덴데지랑 고고요 심제데 심제게 되면 탑투버 두나 덴데지 살람 고고요 된 거바를 쳐봐라 심징의 동해너즈 되게 상땅 거야. 동해의 너즈 되다라 상땅에 되다라 배 동해 교다 쳐봐라 되네 전도 그 상발 깨고요.
re hakoso
나와 된도 그 참바 깨고요. 모두 살아 상담.
So the wish is to truly establish all sentient beings, the countless infinite number of sentient beings, in the final supreme state of enlightenment, because that's where the ultimate benefit will be possible. And in order to establish that goal in the first place, we need compassion and loving kindness. So that means compassion saying that arises by reflecting on the suffering of sentient beings and therefore generating the wish, may they be free from suffering. And then also loving kindness or love that wishes for them to be finally and truly happy.
그래서
That's what.
근데 영어라야 동해도 멋진 거예요. 동해들 앞에 수바 시부제 깨와라. 동해기 내지 되가 되 멋진 거예요. 나 동해기 내지 멋진인데 동해 교회 동해 차번 도지게 동해세지다. 저 차번 도지게 동해서 멋진 거예요. 다 디네즈데 야다바지 셰바 쳐발라 데 칼라 때네주 주 머리바도 마시고요. 내가 다 때네 야라 중인 남샤되게 셰고도 아야. 마시나 야무도 때네 야라 중인 남샤되게 야고 마시나 니지 야고 시켜토야무도 니지 야고 시켜토야 매바이나 심진 디다 탄제 미네면 양알에다가 살랑 건데 그 somebody 한도와 되면은 대체도 라니 전주 돈돈이야 됩니다와 그 전주 돈돈이와 있는 전주 그때는 전주 두비에 그때는 탑다 실업니도 마상 왔다 된다.
And in order to generate that kind of wish, first of all, one needs to become aware of the nature of suffering, and one needs to become aware of the process of recognizing suffering and become able to identify suffering. So that means then that one starts to get in touch with the nature of suffering, with the three kinds of suffering, the suffering of change, and the all-pervasive suffering. So in particular, among these three, the most important that we need to understand then is the last one, all-pervasive suffering. And in order to truly come to understand that suffering, we need, again, go deeper and look at what is the cause for suffering. So then one needs to become able to understand that the cause of suffering is ignorance. And in order, once again, to understand that, one needs the 12 links of interdependent arising and learn about that. And therefore, you see that without all of this, it is not possible to generate compassion. And without compassion, it will not be able to generate the wish to establish sentient beings on the level of Buddhahood. And without that, therefore, we miss even the striving aspect of the mind for that goal. So in other words, in short, then it is not possible to bring skillful means and wisdom together.
Kasota minyaba sungar chagore, lab gore, te gyula lab gores. De chiguga digire be chana digi mares. Kyawa chimana soya, kyawa shene shenda doya, masheba, masheje, temper che gores. Temper che ke tundala lab gores chana. Dine kyawa shenda on tende.
Di sebu peji shungma song kare labja shi kare cha song.
Aleba dosana tama ta khazana sheta dine ya.
Ala shetsare ave.
Da kainsan this dine ale tsawege dine sandam. Nya tanji chik lapsong. Tara chashana ale tambo chanju sada wa shegudus. Chanju sada wa mashena. Tondo nya sada yungu mares. Ta dena wo tondo nya war cheba tondo nya ne ta chanju de drubala chanju de druye ge tapdel mana wa shegures. Ta de sho yindu simgeran shi tadu de shegures. 대상게 되게 말은 전주 되는 이유가 삼바도 고거래스. 근데 이니부의 상황이나 진짜 전주스 줘야게 튕게도 상황래스. 다 고노나 가르고도 쓰나 전바도 인지 고고도 타예의 심지에 대다된 시오민의 양알에 되고 사람 고고야래스. 그 대란 건데 달라 개와라 근데 전바도 인지 야고 고고야래스. 다니지 야고 잠바다 니지 야고 시켜와라 동행계란 신데게 셰고레스 동행계란 신데게 셰윤도 다 가르쳐가랬어라디 삼사라 과 삼사라도 니즈 삼마셔고 고조다 두스가래 랍선 탄다
Really?
원래 되게 지라고 다 된다 라베 되더라
Vale. And therefore, this verse is really stressing the fact that we need to make sure that bodhicitta does not degenerate again, that based on the 4 advices that were given in previous verses, one makes sure that bodhicitta does not degenerate, that therefore it's sustained, and one trains exactly in that, in establishing it firmer. And is that alone enough? No, it is not enough. The text says you need to make sure that it becomes so steady that in future lives you will always remember it. And you need really to train for that as well. So again, it all starts with the points that were just explained, the various process of recognizing suffering and so forth. And Otherwise, it's not possible to even generate the wish to strive for Buddhahood. So we saw, as Geshe explained, it is not only necessary to understand what bodhicitta is, but we need to gather skillful means and wisdom in order to accomplish Buddhahood, and that then entails the motivation of loving kindness and compassion in a very firm and stable manner, and also the wisdom that knows the nature of the mind. And in order to have proper compassion and a proper loving kindness, we need to go through the mind training that recognizes suffering, that therefore also understands the functioning of samsara and so forth. So So if we summarize the 4 points of advice that are given here for making sure that bodhicitta does not grow weaker, are the following. So the first one is never forget about bodhicitta. The second one is make sure that you sustain it by remembering and reminding yourself of the qualities of bodhicitta, of the benefit of bodhicitta. And then the third one is, in order to make bodhicitta grow, gather the accumulations of merit and wisdom. And the fourth one is, don't give up on even a single sentient being.
This one.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Sabala Labas, Sonam Soda, Yishik Sosaba Laba, such a Shibala the Nibe, Senjalo Mumula Laba, so the dear Mahula, which Kazangama loves them, which is the now. Just that is shame, was that the Parasha? The Labja Shidi Nalata, Mawish together, Labja. All the share. That the name does. The name Dakaras Labdu. She gonna send the Miyabe Kula Labas that Tendila Mayaba Kawa Shendoya Mayabe Tendala, then La Gores, that temper chakores, Majeba Chegores, Majaba Kawa Chima no so and Chanju Sim said on Nanya Majaba Mayabe dinner. But Majeba Chela La Gores, they embodies then Sange and Dona, the Resumba, Uzungu Sugar Dole. 지게시가 라바 시zen이부 용수 우승화라 템퍼처와 임비치데스 와 달랍잘라라고스 담메생 랍잘라라고스 다던다 랍잘라고레스 랍잘라라고레스
So these 4 points, they have been explained quite some in the past weeks and verses. Just again to summarize shortly, one was the benefits of bodhicitta, then the advice and on practicing or generating bodhicitta. The third one was about gathering the accumulations, and the fourth one is that of not giving up on or excluding even a single sentient being. So in detail, of course, there's a lot to say about each of these points. So then the present verse then also focuses or emphasizes on the fact that it's necessary to train in bodhicitta for making sure that it will keep on persisting in future lives. So here, that aspiration of bodhicitta should be firmly planted.
And there do it together. To the country, the society get ten la, then Chanju Sado Gawa Yare, Yomari Bess, to it together.
Suzuki Yanker ke to be best.
Chanju Sim Sado Gawa Yare, Yomari Bess, to it together.
Kesin Yam Yowaina. And therefore now in the commentary, there is one question that's being asked that says, is it possible to generate bodhicitta again if it has been lost for an ordinary sentient being? How is that?
Kanyisana Tandirishigarwa. Nakwe Sheda, Senja Lu Pongi, the Messic Sro.
Nakchi she karichaso.
Alidisha, Aligo, Tamukiran de Santa. Senja Lu Pongs, Senja Loga Pong, Sejarwa. Senja Lu Pong, Sejigiti, Senja Lu Pong, the Merson Tongue Cureshas. Member sent the Tongue Cureshas, Senja Lu Pongati.
Really?
That is Senja Lu Pong, the Merson Tongue, Junimba in this. That the neg Merson Tongue, Social Mata Shandala Yon Sigimares.
That's all.
Jadan, Tela, Merson Kiwa. Chanjuk Sim, Social Kiwi, Chanjuk Sim Kiwa, Yobate, Tangi Drubares, what's the land gapta?
Len karichasom jangju kisem returned.
So get then la Suzuki with la Chanju Sim Kiwa, Yota man, Totiva.
Really, did you like Kwakosong?
All the Totiva leg out of the customer. Didn't Merson Genes, member some Gene, Senja Lupon was a show.
Really?
Senja Lupon, Merson Tongue Cures.
Really, di hakochong.
That the Hakonda Lady. Merson Tongue, the Senja Casa Senja Lupon, the Merson Tongue Junina. Then all the Suzuki Mata Shandala Yomares. Havala Yomares, the Nichi. General Suzuki will kill a Chanju some Jawa Yava, the Netrugues. Hakosa, the Nahago.
Rita Rikpatis gets also.
What just some money? What just some money? Senja Lupon as a Jarvas.
Le Poma di Suzuki Ola Chico, Mato Yongi or Mare.
Oh, that's Senja Lupon said Lupon the Chanju some Tongue Jurva. Chanju some Tongue Juice and Chanju some Yene Tonguerva.
Unit on Gore.
Jason Senja Lupon, Pambadi, Suzuki Mata Senja Public Answer Senja Lupungu Marva.
Bindri into Jangju Kisem.
As a Chanju some Yuganchi, Senja Lupon. Le point in the Quran to Chanju some Yam.
Bindri into Suzuki Ola Jangju Kisem Kiechogres.
Oh, you but the Digatara and Hagores. Senja Lupon, the Muslim to a Jusharabas. Sitar and Hagores.
Ale Tiwa Tango di Chain, Sare Suzuki Ola Jangju Kisem Kiechog Kisigrives, Tango de la Rive.
Kiss it reverse, Totigo. Kiss it is. Muslim to the Chanju some Tongue Jurava.
Really, Hakosong. So actually the question was that a little bit different. The question was, is it possible for an ordinary sentient being to generate bodhicitta? And then the answer is that yes, definitely, because it is also stated that the cause for losing bodhicitta is giving up or excluding a sentient being from one's bodhicitta mindset. So that is something that can happen only to ordinary sentient beings, which then in turn entails that ordinary sentient beings can also generate bodhicitta.
This one.
That's
How this is. Chazanya reach the Chanju Sembasel, La Papa, Chance Papa Angel Mother Shagime. What the Tobot said, didn't Tobot said.
Because apparently it might have been that some individuals think that bodhicitta can only be generated by noble beings like bodhisattvas. So this question was also meant to remove that doubt.
Judum Chiterland Chiksha. That Tombalan and Lavjala Lavzu, Sajan, Sungkuna Shigore. That is saying the Chanjuk Sem Keva Yinayang. Tombalanche, Gese Chanju Simbe, Lavjatilla, Malaba Yinasota. Lavjatilla Malaba Yina, Penshita Yamaris, a Pendashimushra, Yumaris, that Geshigora.
So now in the next bit, it will be about the bodhicitta of application and about how to train in that and the ritual of taking it up, the bodhisattva or bodhicitta vows. And it is also already clear here at the beginning that if one takes, even though one might take the bodhisattva bodhicitta vows, without training in the precepts of that, it will not be very beneficial. Because without that, it's not possible to achieve Buddhahood without training in the precepts of bodhicitta.
Chanju Simba Tomba Mansoba Yena, Tomba Nebarto Sungure, Tomba Mansoba Yena, Chinsola Laba Yenayang, then the Gese Cheba Gumares, the Gese Chanju Simba Labjas Casa, Yamni Sigma is.
Because without, even though it might be possible to take the bodhisattva vows, if one does not cultivate them and keep them, then it will not become the conduct of a bodhisattva, which is what would lead towards enlightenment. So that's the very basis of the whole path, that actually these vows need to be trained and kept.
It
is essential to train in the bodhisattva vows in order to train in the bodhisattva conduct. Without that, it's not possible. And then that now connects to the following verse. Without the vow of the engaged intention, perfect aspiration will not grow. Make effort definitely to take it, since you want the wish for enlightenment to grow. Yeah, so in order to establish and firmly plant bodhicitta of the bodhicitta of practice, or the practical bodhicitta, one needs to first establish the bodhicitta of aspiration mindset. And this is essential for bodhicitta of application.
가사 기로 받지다 슈바의 용상 용 말해서 다 배버 배즈 친구만다 도발라야지 용거를 했더라. 도발랑도 용거를 도발라야지 용거를 했어 왔다.
That's all. Somebody who already trains in the basis, which is that of bodhicitta of aspiration, who takes up the bodhicitta of aspiration through ritual, who then trains in the precepts, who then firmly strengthens it, that kind of person will never become lazy in that commitment and will not become discouraged, and therefore will, with a lot of joyful effort, take up the vows of bodhicitta of application.
제가 동바딩 메인을 갈아서 전주 쓰면 동바스라데 장동 장동라고 해요. 장동 죽동 야난 죽동 쓰라고 해요.
And these vows then are called bodhisattva vows, or also vows of application.
제가 전주라 주베 동바스라고 민거라 전주라 주베 동바스라고 해요.
And the longer name would be the vows that enter into enlightenment, something like that.
제가 제부 전주기 민대 코라 다샤야 봤어.
So the vows that enter or that engage in enlightenment / awakening. So you see that already enlightenment becomes part of the name because that's the result that will come out of it.
that's right. 다 근데 인데 다 조베 전주라 미네 조베 전주라 미베드네 동베 민신기로 다 메시스 멤버십아 전주 될라 멤버십아 멤버십스라고라 메심데 벨시 타르침바라 누구야 봐 간사데 메심데 벨시 메심데 타르침바 누구야래 제가 타르침바는 되바 인데서 전주스바 동바들 랑고기레스.
So bodhicitta of aspiration already has as a focus the result of full awakening, and of course, therefore, that individual with that mindset wants to increase that ever more and more, strengthen it, and finally really realize that result, which is full awakening. And therefore, the next step in order to make that happen are the bodhisattva vows.
그래. 근데 인도다 메베세 세저와 무슨 때와다 무슨 벨시 타르침바 세저와 무슨 벨시 타르침바 세티 전주스도 도말라는 요야레스 전주스도 도마들라 되네 전주스도 쳐발라 라발라 되네 오 된대지 되네 되네 무슨 벨시 타르침바스를 용거레스.
The enhancement of bodhicitta of aspiration and the completion of it or perfection of it comes through the bodhisattva vows, and afterwards, based on that, through the training in the conduct of a bodhisattva.
나도 고고 전주 멤버 쌤데 타르친구구나. 되네 배 무슨 배가 된다라 되네. 전주스베 동바들랑 되는지 전주스베 동베 랍자디게 수년도 담면선 배야 타쳐 봐봐 타르친에 타쳐요.
And that's pretty clear, right? When you take up the bodhisattva vows and train in the conduct of a bodhisattva, that will lead to the perfection of bodhicitta of aspiration.
근데 이제다 가르송도 슬라든 주베섬게 당인게 동바드 전주서 동바데 마송나 송거다. 동바데 마송 바이나 무슨 양다바 초도 교회체 야 말했어. 무슨 양다바 초도 패오른 교회들 야 말했어. 동바데 마송나.
And therefore, that also means that without keeping the bodhicitta of application, without practicing and cultivating that, it is not possible to perfect bodhicitta of aspiration.
아야, 나도 숨도. 그냥 배지직 나와네. 합의 삼바 당대베스. 사상, 합의 삼바 당대베. 주베스는 깨체베스. 사상 대행인 게 강사대. 주바 전주선데 깨버잖아요. 띵나르게 멤버스 되니스. 코란라다 사상 주도 그 말씀 시키기 어려워. 말씀디 그 가치를 배워셔야지. 코란 말씀 깨봐 나신 지다 답해 주는 거래서 다시 맞은 거래서.
The text also exactly states this process, confirms that somebody who, based on this altruistic compassion, generates bodhicitta of application, will definitely enhance further and further the bodhicitta of aspiration, which of course was generated prior to bodhicitta of application, but it will be strengthened further and further through that subsequent step of bodhicitta of application.
제당 알아서 남제다 semge를 공부해 값수 다 타입의 심정이 대화도 받아 동행세 세계 쳐도 다 남게 겨우 고마를 뭐 진짜 타고 그렇지 삼바체다 타버려 차우 삼배 셈지 깨고 지기요 봐 당서 셈되지 고미에 탑시 지기요 봐 자 된다워지 제제 공제 전주스도 동발랑제 봐 그 제발 라게인 서상 당연히 그 상바의 수치를 진짜 그 단지 기랑 당보 고노고로 타예의 선생님도 남게 개고 뭐 타버려 차긴 셈데 다야야게 쉬고지 줘도요 팬도고요 로다를 되다
And that's exactly also the process, how the process goes. We start to contemplate bodhicitta, to meditate on bodhicitta by thinking about the wish, the aspiration. May all sentient beings attain Buddhahood so that they are free from suffering and established in happiness. May I make that happen? And once that has, therefore the aspiration has been generated, then one trains in it and in the conduct and the precepts of bodhicitta, and therefore always the aspiration goes hand in hand with the application. So of course that also strengthens.
아예 개방 가시기 나로 순방을 가리는 거나 무슨데 초계권에 랑기여 봐.
그래.
무슨 초계권에 랑인데가네 랍자 손 고게도 초계권에 랑기여. 또 무슨 거라 동바래 숨내지. 근데 직지 연구에 살아 봐. 얘네들이 동바 말해스. 와. 무슨 초계랑 받아. 무슨 담자신다. 무슨 그 랍자를 랍았어도 연구할 때 걔가 동바스기요 말해스. 이 멤버들 조지 아디샤 코란 랑게 가르송고에서 가르송바레스라네 심게 문도 송하게 송과 간사대 와 심게 문도 송 담고 심게 문도 송 근데 전주선도 동바랑 네 심게게 되네 심게다 동바 뭐라 가서다 심게 문도 송 대저서 전주선도 동바랑 심게 문도 송 세디 무슨 미자게라 되네 거서 전주선도 동바 민배 다래 what there is.
Some scholars have argued that that the bodhicitta of aspiration is also supposed to be a vow, that it should also be called bodhicitta of aspiration vow because it's been taken up through a ritual. But that's not the case, because saying something is a vow does not necessarily entail a training. Like a training is not always a vow. So here, of course, bodhicitta of aspiration, that's a mindset, that's a training, that's a sort of precept, but that is not a vow. And Atisha has also confirmed that, saying that first one trains in bodhicitta, in the mindset of bodhicitta of aspiration, and then one takes up the bodhisattva vows, which makes clear in that line that bodhicitta of aspiration is not a vow. Còn được chưa khai được cho xong?
전주고 선배게 된 동발라에게로 주동람배 땡기 간사. 땡기 간사들 간데 구구야. 튕기라 가르창 구구야.
알레하고도. And therefore, now the next question is, what conditions does an individual need in order to take the bodhisattva vows?
다 되지. 땡기 간사 간데 구구르베. 동발라에 유디 간데 구구르베. 유디스라도 동발라에게 라마 야나 땡기 존에 라야다. 야나 라메 존에 라야 되게 시고. 내 렘베 초가데 가르가르베 에스지다. 림바르 숨지래.
And that also brings up two other questions. One being, who is the one supposed to give the vows? Is it supposed to be a support? Is it supposed to be a lama, a teacher? And what is the ritual for taking them, for getting them?
다 내가 내렸어 말해. 소소 타르바 리딩게스. 다도 동신 담발라. 전주 세베 동바에 깨와 예게 현도 민수 말해.
This speaks, this topic is addressed in the next verse. Those who maintain any of the 7 kinds of individual liberation vow have the ideal prerequisite for the bodhisattva vow, not others.
근데 카도들 두스가라 라면 되네. 베라 차샤나. 나라조 베라 차샤나 되네. 계시 켜라. 개념게 동바를 좀 해봐야나. 개념게 동바 좀 해봐야나. 그런 결합되나. 랍중 가서 랍도 중에 동바라에 다 요약거리야 말봐. 랍중 동바라에 요 말봐. 다 요약거리야 말봐. 개념 동바디 뭐시를 차. 대간을 랍중 동바스래 거봐.
네.
되나 신체네. 전주선도 동백에 땡달라. 인지 만타들라 개념 연구를 개념이 연구를 했어.
네.
전주선도 땡에 가사들 개념이 연구를 했어. 와. 다 되는 전주선보다 내가 딜라베를 이해하잖아. 다 전주선도 동발라에 때 초도 줘봐대 개념서들했어. 되네 기술력이야. 되네 다 개념서를 쳐야 해. 다들 리든시 개념들아 파마니 기술들아 파마니 개념들아 파마니 개념 마들아 개념 마야 다 기술 마이 파라들아 기름 마세죠. 뭐 되게 동바들아 소소 타베 리든스라.
네.
된조서 동바 된조서.
네. Here now is the mention of the 7 kinds of individual liberation vows. So just before going into that, regarding the precepts of bodhicitta, the bodhisattva vows, Geshe mentions that without having the lay vows, it would not be possible to become a bhikshu, a fully ordained monk. And that's a little bit how the principle goes. Like there needs to be a foundation for other vows. So in the case of the bodhisattva vows, the minimum minimum that has to be there are the vows of a lay practitioner. The best, of course, recipient would be someone with the fully ordained being, either a bhikshu or bhikshuni, then a novice, and the third one would be a lay practitioner. So what are these 7 kinds of individual liberation vows? They are lay practitioner, male or female, then novice, female or male, then bhikshu or bhikshuni, so fully ordained monk or nun, and in between a fully ordained nun and a novice nun, there is the so-called shikshamana, that's the training nun. So that would be 7.
Chanju simbe tombeke yala to kirba yindes. Yala so gyu. Yala so tanda gyuru go gyu. Chazan chanju simbe tomba tabala susu taba ri dumbu ganruji tabu res, yunga la tabu res. Sunga dere, right? Tama tabu sunguya mares, chik tabu res murda.
There is a text by a master Acharya Jangju Zangpo that's called something like the 20 vows, or a commentary. And in that he says that there needs to be at least present one of the 7 vows of individual liberation. That is mandatory as a prerequisite for the Bodhisattva vows.
Chik tabu res. Yana kenyin yungur, yana geze yungur, yana gyanon yungur, chi yungur res. Chua chi nido ribar chaos. Gyunzen dechir soso tabi tomba, shenda deba dis. Chanju simbe tomba, yana taba limbe nodo kiruba las. Chazan chanju simbe tombe ki nodo kiruba de, soso tabi ridumbu de kano chires. Nurungi kansa.
That means that one needs to have at least one of these 7 kinds of individual liberation vows, either that of a lay practitioner or that of a novice, shikshamana, or fully ordained monk or nun. And that is therefore then someone who has that, who has that prerequisite, will be a good recipient for the Bodhisattva vows.
Dile garçon barese la de sin dian chimbar chega tando sela de ta chanju simbe tomba de ne do rugen de soso tabe rik dumbo kanro ne tengen kansa de les o de la ta chanju simbe tomba de ta te por eso ma chro.
For someone who has either one of these 7, that is somebody to whom one should then bestow the Bodhisattva vows.
De la socho bala socho bal solen dobe choga. Dene mani no so odre bare ta socho pomba se tare chama socho pomba se la wa no. Socho pomba se de kenye la yunguru kizu la yunguru. Dene kenon la yunguru chanju se bale yungures. Dene de so na yare so sunja kare. Tomba de so na yares. Bonjo de socho ba pomba se de. Right? Yine ya pambe tsudum de sosu na midaware yores. Kenyege kapso zune socho bonga tsudum. Kizuki kapso, kenongi kapso, chanju simbe kapso. Socho bonga tsudum de midaw yores, right?
And although each group, so bodhisattvas or bhikshus or novices, they all could take up the vow of not killing, then still the practice of discipline would be different for each and every one based on the setting they are in with those vows, whether they are bodhisattva or bhikshu or novice.
제스 키랑 소주 부마데 캐만라 바이나 전수도 뭐 답에 요 말했은 거다.
And it is said here that without taking that vow, the vow of not killing, it is not possible to take up the bodhisattva vows.
어디 아티샤 고랑가 랑제나 텐데 송샤하스.
This is how Atisha explained it in his own commentary.
맞아요. 다 용도 진행 연체 얘네 개농게 돈배 바로 수수다 바 리드윈선 대단 팀배 정신의 카나마도 오고 따도 와대 지스 소유바도 장세게 돈바가 되대 어디네 봤다 다 그런 수수 송당 민다와레서 송당 민다와레서 다 돈바들라 계시 소지가 돈바뽕 세대 소주뽕 세대 소주뽕 세저바 다 개념에 수수타의 직든 숙녀 도저 인바이나 멋이봐도 내 소주뽕이 멋이봐도 쓰고 라고야래. 어디서 봐도 멋이봐도 라고야. 전수가 쓰는 거 전주 못하게 봐도 쓰라고야. 저는 걔네들 쉽지 쳐봐도 봐.
그래.
어디네 쳐봐요. 그래서 거다.
There is therefore indeed a difference regarding the vow, even though it sounds the same, for example, not killing, but for example, taking the vow of not killing for a novice means that the vow is taken up until the end of this life. And for a bodhisattva, for example, taking up the vow of not killing means until Buddhahood. So there is a difference here.
And 미기와 주봉이 있으라. 미기와 주봉이 있어야 아무것이 보다 미디어 주봉이 있어요. 오늘 전주 못하게 봐도 봉이 있으라도 배트로 군은 가가샤로다.
It makes a big difference in motivation to take any of the 10 non-virtuous actions in a principle of a vow and saying I take them until the end of his life or I take them until Buddhahood. That's a big difference.
나 소주방 미세바 봉아라 진바이나 미치기 어떤가 미세기메 계속 미세바이나 직신은 앞장간 조주 계기를 그 직장 나랑 그 소치기를 군세 될 때는 안 미세기메스 미세바도 봉고 여러 봐 미치기 계속 내 미세바이나 미세베 되고 잡친 거 싫어 난 예송도 기기를 군세 대신은 만 미세기면서 그 녀석도 깨서 쉐네 미세기 받아 미세바다 봉고여 봐. 뭔가 간사치기 다 되네야 림바르지. 그 미세바스라 나라세바도 치부치게라 봤어. 내소도 파기소도 치부치게라 봤어. 너희가 다 동년민도가 치부치게라 봤어. 다들 치부치게라. 너희 치부치게라 했어. 내 소라 자 가지도 비기 바로 소라 자 집이지게요. 군세 대전에 내 소체는 자는 롱거 말에 세상방 그 상보다 셔부지 수치를 해서 뭐하는 소체가 미소가 뭐 다른데.
그래.
이나 상배 나와 용다 미다 용도.
Yeah, it makes a big difference in with what kind of motivation or mindset we take and carry out certain vows. Because, for example, one could refrain from killing, saying, I refrain from killing humans. Why? Because that would bring me into prison. And for that reason, I give that up. Another person could say, I give up killing because that would take me into a lower rebirth and lower realms. That's a very different approach, a very different aspiration. And someone could say, I refrain from killing because my life and the life of that other person has the same value. There is no difference. We are the same. That person is human, I'm human. So there is no difference in value life or of my life force and so on. And therefore we see that there's a huge difference in mindset. Although one can refrain from one and the same thing, there are many different ways in which one refrains from them or can refrain from them.
Madre, today you do Francoran Sochaba Pumba say Chibaji in Bainea. Ko Samle Chabaki, Nikawa the love chijung with Chaba shooting with Shivju, that to be love chijung Chabade.
Although the vow I refrain from killing, from taking life, may be the same, the amount of virtue that's been generated from that vow varies greatly.
Chazada Mikiwe, Tibir Zitoso, Mashiba the Chagi message. Migichu Mutsuristan, Mashiba the Sungi says. Sometimes you change your motto about the Sungi, but Kakacham. Bunung Samashu, Chabashu.
Yeah, you probably see that there's a big difference in saying I refrain from the 10 non-virtuous actions till the end of this life, or I refrain from the 10 non-virtuous actions till Buddhahood. That's a very, very different motivation.
Others, that's it. In the Hindu, changes of the children said, she was a
Therefore, the discipline of a bodhisattva is something extremely precious.
That changes in the Tombasa, Mueta, Cuba Candaja told us some Tambaina, Tachido, Shella Pendo
Chella Pendo Dubiaki Kecharis.
Shella Pendo Conares.
Conares. In summary, one can say that the Bodhisattva vows have one single goal, which is that of accomplishing the benefit of beings.
Shella Pendo Dredge, Shella never did it, never to Pongo. Perachashana, Tanda Soso Taber Rig the Shella never read that Hanjapuma Jerashamado, Shella Pendo Geshe Shemos.
Nuperikte så.
I never read
Nu parken pendogi kechamare klaso.
Pendo Geshe Chumchumusa. That changes to Thomas Land. Gatamana, but Gatama Chasan Shella Pendo to each other. Pendo Yimba into the never read the in the name. Wanda Bon says Yarota. Java the Kabash go up, but they were children the love Chin Kaba.
So, because the purpose, one and only purpose of Bodhisattva vows is that of accomplishing the benefit of others, then of course it goes without saying that that entails giving up any harm or activity that could cause harm to sentient beings. So it goes without saying that that's definitely not part of the Bodhisattva conduct, and therefore we see also that the Bodhisattva discipline is a very particular one. Atisha Kirangderle. In Atisha's auto-commentary, it says that if one wishes to be a special vessel or recipient for the Bodhisattva vows, then one would have to take up the vows of a bhikshu or bhikshuni, because these are the most powerful vows, or the most powerful in sense of generating merit.
yana dene tar chanju simbe dombe ke ten dala nyene ni domba se yoro ti chanju simbe dombe ten le kasa chanju simbe dombe ke nuru do shama song te kare ba te kare ba esla ba
Niente di nimachiki domba di mare.
modu ni ma chi domba ta de chanju simbe dombe ke ten le shagi me do te kar cha ba es ke chole.
Here in the commentary, then another question is asked that says, why did you not mention the Nyene vows, so the vows that one takes for one day? Why are these not mentioned as the basis for the Bodhisattva vows?
nyene ke domba se hasan ale tambo düzü rechen düzü de tunun şibeci res nyene ji domba res.
And one reason is because these are way too short, because they are taken up only for a single day.
Ko tiwa tanje le ba dobar chi se ko chele mindu.
Dikpa mepa zoya ki mipa minduse. And therefore they do not have the power to work as an antidote to negative actions on the long term.
Ne da chance changdong bu den de rungu ya ma.
And therefore they are not suitable as a basis for the Bodhisattva vows.
Gede soba ga domba ne tsepe we tongwe de den do chidaro an soba ga domba de ane soso de domba ri de chanju se be domba den do kande se rungu re ke shin ru de soso de domba de ke ne ba chagi ya ba as nya theoji le re.
Alle domba di jangdom le langyon dus. Alle
장동 때에 간데스 동그를 뺐어. 장동 데베 장주 님보 마타게 봐도 계시게도. 수도가 동바드는 뭐시 봐도 계시게도. tem 시사스는 수도가 동바드 동 누구야래. 이 장주스베 동베게 때 간데스 동그를 뺐어.
alle. Another question is asked here, so it goes very much into the technical aspect, saying, why are the 7 pratimoksha or individual liberation vows said to be a suitable basis for the Bodhisattva vows when they are losing validity upon dying? So they will stop being valid after death, but the Bodhisattva vows, they are until enlightenment. So how can that be a foundation for the Bodhisattva vows?
이dag 말했다. 그 가래에서는 nenjoba 첨부 셰네 스타페진데 nenjoba 첨부 셰데 페이지 찍잖아. 수라지나. 아디샤 코란 숨고이나. 란제도 마고시당도 어디나 봐.
네.
저도 디인스라. 그나 미겐고지 야란데 가나 코 란데 가나 규바레 주네 야란고이나. 란스나 고 규바된 거는 진짜 코 로데가 말아 규발 텐시 되고 요 말했어 미겐고데. 그 규바도 라고도 로데기 요레스.
네.
란데 고고도 마다 되나라 고면도스. 되나 시제 전주스도 동바데 당분한테 수다가 동바데 고구면 고군도 마다 지금 대고 신에다 된 매나이. 대 전주스도 동바 다라 하고 그래서 뭐 같은다.
And then the answer is probably by Atisha himself. Here the commentary just says great yogi. We assume that it's Atisha. Atisha says it's the same as with an old man who needs a stick to get up from the seat. Once he has risen up from the seat, the old person does not anymore need the stick because he has gotten up. In the same way, once the Bodhisattva vows are taken up, they need this basis to rise, so to say. But once they have arisen, then they can sustain, they can be sustained. Even Gonda, even if the pratimoksha vows cease. 가인스나?
단다 소다가 dom바도 장동 담보집에 떼라고 그랬어. 되네 되게 제수 샤나네베 시탄젤레 되는 도에 직당 되네 샤나 팬드 드롭사이제 되네 전주도 도마코랑가 제도거를 마도 저 소다 dom바들 떼고 말했어 뭐. 미디야 란도거나 담보 주발 떼고 되네 거 되는 되거나 주발 라바체제 두고야 거 주발 떼고 문도 관세 어디래 내나 싫었어. 네.
Because why is that? Because first to take them up, you need this basis, like the stick to rise, to get up. But then afterwards, what makes sure that harming sentient beings is avoided and that the benefit of sentient beings is accomplished, that's brought about by the Bodhisattva vow itself.
Ah, yeah. Yes, what did I say? That didn't this one. That didn't ever to them balance. So Taba reading to decision of some balance. Sanji Belge Choi in the Gelon Tomba Tato She, so that you want around. Show Trujurishi and Doa.
Then the next verse says, the Tathagata spoke of 7 kinds of individual liberation vow. The best of these is glorious pure conduct, said to be the vow of a fully ordained person.
That in the kinds of soda reading your mass. Read Miladen, the Chirilla never tela, read Timbucarola never tendela, in the Sangi Chava Yare, Sambota and Yambata the Negi, Rinpoche Yorba Yomar, the
This is addressing the question whether there is a better or less good vow order in the 7 Pratimoksha vows. And the answer is there is.
That didn't have a chumbo Yores. Some day the rank should do an all, do it and then some jasso. So Tarba Ridundus. The Shinshebe Sumba Las. The knee. Kimbe Tombale, Rajunga Tomba Cho. Sambar Choba, Rajunga Tombe Nane Kang, Belam Puzum Soba. Never Soba, Canonga Tomba Tai in this. That's what to give a Canon Tombares.
So here the Tathagata, the Buddha himself, is quoted to make that clear that there is a superior and an inferior kind of order within the Pratimoksha vows. He spoke about this in the Vinaya section, that there is indeed a big difference. And the supreme set of vows is that of a fully ordained person.
Sangye Tembala Yung. Tembala Shuba Yonsu Soba, they cannot rest.
Sangeki Yongsu?
Sangye Tembala Yonsu Soba Shuba de Shuba Yonsu Soba Sendigri. Sangye Tembala Shuba, Tembala Juba, Yonsu Soba, they cannot rest. Dar Chiba to Chasan Shu Yamariso, Rajon Jizu to Chasan Shu to Yamaris, cannot Chasan Shuba rest.
Here in this setting, it is said by the Buddha that the individual who fully dedicates and enters the path of the is a fully ordained person. Then, for this reason, the vows of a fully ordained person are the most superior basis for the Bodhisattva vows, the highest recipient.
Sangye Tembala Quran Sunda, Sangye Tembala Shuba de Yonsu Soba is. Sangye Tembala Shuba de Yonsu Soba, Selay in the Tati, then Choto Chubares.
So someone who has fully committed in the most complete manner to the teaching, the doctrine or path of the Buddha is a fully ordained person, and that is the best superior foundation or recipient for these vows of a bodhisattva.
Oh, that can't do. Changes to the Tombalaya lot, can only the Choto Chubares to us, then by the Yan cannot change to the Tombaya watch it, Leacha, the way you know, that cannot do with us.
Having heard this, so it sounds like in order for all of us to get the Bodhisattva vows properly, we should first get fully ordained. There are a lot of free rooms in Naranda. Yeah, just kidding. We're going to stop here for today. The time is over.
Thank you, everybody. I'll just share the screen to do the prayers. Jamphel Semjo Rinpoche, Marke Panan Kegu Che, Kewa Nyampa Mepa Yang, Gone Gondu Pewa Sho, Tony Dawa Rinpoche, Marke Panan Kegu Che, Kewa Nyampa Mepa Yang, Gone Gondu Pewa Sho. Gangri Rawe Goe Shinkam De. Bendan de wa malu jungwe ne chenre ziguan tenzin gatso yi jape si te badu tengu chi tu su shanjin jangun gawe ten zinkyon pewe kunzu dopo te Chok song ko e le men to jo pa da so du je gen du sharp ten show. Thank you so much, Geshe. Thank you, Yulika.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
And now